Hi, it's Nanny Robina here, and today I'm with a client, Kimberly and Matthew. Matthew, you're going to be hearing in the background over there. And Kimberly here is having some issues putting the baby in the crib. It's a little bit unlike some of the stuff that you've seen prior on YouTube. There's a lot of crib issues. This particular issue is about rocking and putting down to sleep, only to have the baby wake numerous times. This is very, very common. We have a lot of people out there I know that cannot even put the baby in the crib because the baby actually screams blue bloody murder. So today, that's what we're going to be talking about, and we're going to be doing a little demonstration, hopefully with Matthew, and let me tell you, it's not going to be a happy Matthew at that time. So, Kimberly, let's first of all, tell me about the issues that you're having with the rock and put down.
So basically what happens every night and every nap time is we rock him to sleep, and then we put him in the crib, and he wakes up. Okay. And then we pick him up and do it over and over and over again until finally he's asleep enough to stay put.
So you actually have to rock him to a deep sleep, which is very, very known. And I have to tell you, for all the moms out there, I do understand that cry it out is just not for everybody. I'd appreciate it if you don't come on and criticize other people's choices, because at the end of the day, when it comes to parenting, it is up to the individual and what they choose to do. So I understand that some of you don't approve, don't like cry it out. Others want to rock and put down. However, you have to understand that the rock and put down does not work for everyone. That's just what it is. I have a lot of clients, and we're going to be talking to one on Skype a little bit later, that was completely opposed to cry it out. But when his baby only got 8 hours sleep, he was forced to go cry it out. And I think that's where we may be going. We don't know yet, so we're going to try a couple of things. I'm looking at Kimberly's log. So just so our viewers know, actually scheduling a baby prior to doing any form of sleep training is really imperative, because we want to set their internal clock so that they know when to sleep and kind of wake up, okay? So, according to your log, Matthew woke up yesterday at 8:45. He's a late sleeper.
Yeah, we're a late sleeping family.
Uh-oh. Don't know if they're going to like my schedule. Anyway, so he slept late. So he slept at 8:45. He had his breakfast. By the time he went to nap, it was 2:44. So he's gone from 8:45, 9:45, 10:45, 11:45, 12:45, 1:45, 2:45. You're starting the nap. That's 6 hours later, okay? It says nap starts. Now, 2:20 nap routine begins. So does that mean it took you from 2:17 to 2:44? Okay, you started at 2:17. He finally fell asleep at 2:44.
Yes.
Okay, that's actually not too bad a time. I mean, it's actually, I've had people that have had to rock for an hour, 2 hours.
I've been there.
Yeah, that you started out with that, right? Okay, and then his nap starts at 2:44. He woke up at 4:30. So that was, what are we looking at there? An hour and a half nap? Do the math for me. So 2:44, let's say 2:45 to 4:30. Yeah, sort of. An hour and 45 minutes approximately. Okay. Then he has dinner. Bedtime starts at 9 o'clock. Oh, you guys are late party people. 10:45, he's asleep in the crib. That's late. Okay, so let me tell you one of the things that's going wrong here. He woke up at 8:45. He's had an hour and a half sleep. Plus, he went in his crib at 10:45. So there's a huge difference from the time he wakes up to the time he goes to bed there. To me, theoretically looking at it, he's actually probably losing about 2 hours sleep. That actually could be one of the reasons he's not rocking and actually going down easier throughout the day. It could be, not to say that it is. My own experience really tells me that when you've rocked and put down for this amount of time, he's become dependent on the actual rocking to actually put him to sleep.
Yeah.
So try and tell us a little bit more about that and how you feel that that's working or not working for you.
Well, it started off innocently enough. I would nurse him to sleep, and then if he had a rough time, we would walk him around a bit to get him to go to sleep, because he was just an infant. And I mean, I thought it was innocent. Like, you know, he's having a hard time. He's my little baby. He's my first baby. I'm so attached. And
he can't cry.
Well, it's just so heartbreaking.
I know.
And then eventually it just became too much. And now that he's like 30 pounds, and I'm trying to carry him around and walk him around. Luckily, my husband does the nighttime.
I bet he's built
he's
like
gonna be,
I bet he's like he's really muscular looking husband. He's doing his weightlifting.
And I mean, you start hunching over because he's so heavy, and it's just become not an okay situation.
So, what are your thoughts on Cry It Out?
I have a hard time because he's my little baby, but. You know, we've been at this for 1.5 years, and it's just not working.
It's not working.
And I'm scared for him to eventually move into his own bed and he can get out.
Yeah.
And
he's still having an erratic sleep.
Exactly.
I think, you know, and the viewers have to know out there, as I've just mentioned, one does not suit all. And I think if you've tried the rock and put down, and I have spoken to Kimberly, she has been doing it proper. She has been actually rocking him to a firm sleep, and he does continuously wake. We're going to show you a little later a log of another client before and after Cry It Out. The log before, they were very opposed to Cry It Out. They really didn't want to do it, but the baby's sleep became so erratic, only 8 hours a day, and that's a 7-month-old baby. They were forced to take action, and he said, we just got to do it. And the change in the scheduling of the baby sleeping was just unbelievable. So I think then what we're going to do then is have to talk about the schedule, getting properly scheduled. That's the first step. And then we're going to talk about Cry It Out. One of the reasons a schedule is important is we want to know that when we put him down, he's ready to go down. He's not overtired. He's not undertired, where he's not tired enough, and that the Cry It Out is because he needs to put himself to sleep rather than him being overtired or hungry. So milk and food is also an issue. We want to make sure that you're scheduling those milk feeds and that solid accordingly. Some of the things that can happen when a baby cries hardcore, and you have to know that, is they can project vomit. So one of the things that I will look into when I'm doing a sleep plan is that milk and that food is fed on waking, not on sleeping. So that it's really had time to digest, and we can try and avoid that. You know what, I can't work magic. At the end of the day, sometimes that does happen. A baby will cry hardcore and will throw up, in which case clean up, and we put him back down, and he has to go through it again. So for yourself and for my viewers out there, let me tell you how important scheduling is. I did mention it very, very briefly, that we want to set the baby's internal clock. So based on Matthew's age, which is 1.5, he's 1.5 years, I would say, first of all, instead of allowing him to just wake up what time he wants, let's drag his little toes out of bed at a reasonable time. So I know you're not a 7 o'clock person. You don't want to do 7 to 7. So we'll go 8, okay? But I think you need to wake him up regularly at that time, okay? So that we are setting his clock. So you wake him up at 8 o'clock. And I'm going to say that based on your schedule, you're possibly missing the window of sleep. Okay. Because he's outgrown a morning nap, it's a bit of a struggle at times. Yeah. I would go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, absolutely max 1 o'clock that you start and get him into his crib. Okay. So about 5 hours later, any later, what's going to happen is if you put him down at 2, we're not going to get him into bed in time because that nap has just been too long. Yeah. So if you get him down there, ideally 2 hours max for a nap at this point. Give him a 2-hour nap, wake him up, and then he's going to bed at a reasonable time too. So the fact that he has to sleep for 2 hours, in all honesty, I would like you to miss the 1 o'clock mark and try and go for 12. So he's sleeping. He'll have lunch at 11:30, and then he sleeps from 12 o'clock to 2. Okay. And then he will go to bed at 7. 7! Oh. Yeah, because he's going to catch up an extra hour there. So 7, you can push to 8 o'clock. These are all going to have to be done very, very slowly to make those changes. Just overnight, not going to happen. But guess what we got in our favor this week? We've got time change. Yes. That's going to bring its own lot of problems to all you moms out there with sleeping babies. Time change. It always causes some disruption. So this weekend is actually a great time to actually start it because you have that working in your favor. So let's talk about getting him out of bed at 8 o'clock, getting him onto a good schedule. He has his milk first thing when he wakes up, has his solids. Then when he goes down at 12, there's no milk. We're not feeding to sleep. Okay. Are you going to be able to do that?
I'm going to try.
When you have actually incorporated a sleep habit, such as milking or something. You can do anything you want. You're forgiven, other than actually feed. So you can rock him, you can walk the floor. First thing I think you have to do is schedule him. So get him to sleep on that time.
Okay.
The next step, let's say do a week of scheduling, would be to do the cry it out. And that would always start at bedtime, night before. So night before, like Friday night, for example, you put him in his crib awake.
Okay.
He would be allowed to fuss, scream, blue bloody murder. Yeah, I know. And he can. These babies have got some fine lungs, let me tell you. I hear them often. So he's going to be left to fuss and cry it out. How you handle this, mamas, is totally up to you. Some prefer to stay in the room, some leave. Me, I can tell you, the majority of the parents that come to me tell me their babies get royally miffed off if they can hear you. Because, of course, they would. Yeah. He's like, you're there and you're not picking me up. For a year and a half, you picked me up. Now you're not picking me up. Yeah. How dare you?
Yeah.
So I actually prefer to say, when you're at the door, just shush him once in a while so he gets that reassurance that you're there. So, shh, Matthew, it's time for sleep. So it becomes like a mantra. Yeah. Just whatever terminology you use. If you say it's time for nannies, just at the door and let him know you're there every 15, 20 minutes. Okay? That's the first night. The next day, you have to do the same at nap time.
Okay.
So you want to start a little bit earlier, let him fuss it out, and then he can actually go and,
hopefully nap.
Hopefully he'll nap. I can tell you now, for many of my clients, even the earlier they start, of course they see quicker results. I've just had a 7-month-old baby, and I'm not joking, he was a real tough cookie. He cried hardcore for a solid 2 hours. That doesn't happen often. He is a very, very tough cookie. But his log has been amazing. He's only sleeping for an hour through the day, which is not something that's great, but he's very happy. But he sleeps all night. So that's a plus. Yeah. The whole sleeping 1 hour with a 7-month-old baby, I'm not great. And I've actually advised my clients to go get him checked at the doctor and get the okay from the doctor that it's okay to do these 2 30-minute naps. We can't get him to nap past 30 minutes. I wouldn't want a baby to continually cry it out that long through naps and nights, But for the most part, you should start to see results. Once you put him down, let's say Friday night, you'll start seeing results probably by Sunday night. Okay, so that's it, viewers. Get the box of Kleenex out because it's going to be a lot of tears from both baby and mom and probably dad. I'm upstairs in Kimberly's house and she's in the nursery actually reading baby Matthew a story. We're going to show you a little glimpse of what cry it out looks like, just so you moms know this is pretty normal, because I think sometimes you question yourself as to, are you doing it right? If the baby's crying this hard, is it normal? Unfortunately, sadly, yes it is. So we're going to show you a little bit of the cry it out. On another note, I also want to show you this. See this log here? That log is a 7-month-old client that is actually doing the rock and put down. Clearly, it was not working. So the client actually came to me completely opposed to cry it out, but the baby's sleep became so poor, sleeping on average 8 hours a day, he was forced to go that route. This is about day 4 of cry it out. Look at the difference. I mean, he goes from 2:30 feed and actually goes back to sleep. And you can see that each waking is absolute minimal and he's putting himself to sleep. And that's a 7-month-old baby. This was no easy task, mamas. I just want you to know that. This was scheduling the food, scheduling the milk, and scheduling the naps. And then we did the cry it out. The cry it out in the beginning was hardcore. It probably lasted a good 2 hours. But then the next day it became less and less. And this is the results 4 days later. So now we will take a little peep in there and see what's happening with Kimberly.
Our day is done. Cool night has come. Make no sound. We settle down. Mama's here. No need to fear. Hug her tight, for all is right. Okay, time for bed, Matthew. Gonna have a nap now.
So what you saw there with Kimberly was a little bit of the cry out. And of course, with an older child, you're always going to have this issue of the baby standing up because he's able to stand up, right? So what I advised Kimberly to actually do was when he starts to get tired after 15-20 minutes, he's come in, lay him down, and it is an ongoing process because you're going to have to keep popping in and helping him lay down. Eventually he's just going to drop and he is going to become exhausted. And a lot of people will ask, well, isn't that defeating the whole object? Isn't he just sleeping through exhaustion? Absolutely he is. That's when he drops, but he also puts himself to sleep, and that's all part of the process. And guess what? He still has a smile for us. You still smiling? Okay, come on, give me a smile. Maybe not. Do I get a smile? He's still going to be, are you okay? If you forgive mommy? Yeah? Everything's okay. Because one of the questions I get is, my baby just doesn't look at me the same. Your baby's still going to love you and thank you for doing this. He just may not thank you till he's about 18 years old. That's just what it is. Okay? So this is Nanny Robina, and I'll see you next time.